We now know what happened to the employees, but something we don't know yet is what happened to the children who were kept in the playcare and who would occasionally go up to the game station. During the Hour of Joy, we saw several CCTV clips of how everyone who was in the factory was butchered and killed, then subsequently taken beneath the factory to be consumed by the hungry, living dolls. The act of eating them seems to have stemmed more from a howling hunger that they suffered from when transformed into these dolls. I doubt that they were all hungry at the same exact time, eating so many people without feeling full. Also, the organization possibly fed them constantly to function, as otherwise they would die, so they ate the employees not out of necessity at that point, but more as a symbolic gesture. It's clear at this point that the dolls have a digestive system and need to eat, as Miss Delight almost starved to death and had to kill and eat her peers in order to survive. What's not clear is if the dolls, apart from having a need to eat to function, also have a desire to savagely rip the flesh of the employees to satisfy other needs. Anyway, all the employees were subsequently taken down to be consumed, but I doubt they were all eaten, as there were many, so it's possible some corpses were kept or stored for later on. There's not much information about how they stored them and if they had freezers or not, and it's not even clear if all the employees are dead or some still remain in the bottom of the factory, and we don't even know if there are even any corpses remaining. In the Hour of Joy tape, we saw that not one living employee was left anymore, with every single one lying in their own pool of blood. So if we want to go based on evidence and what we see, it would make more sense to say every single employee is dead. But again, in a tape recorded by Miss Delight talking to herself or her alter ego, Barb, she explains how she spoke to the prototype, asking if the children are in the same place as the employees.
Where are the kids? Please, where are the children? Are they in the same place as the employees?
No.
Are the children safe?
Yes.
Oh. Can I see them?
No.
And that was it. That's all he'd tell me. Probably because he knew I'd kill them all.
The prototype proceeds to say no and that the children are safe. So this gives a hint to what might have happened to the employees. Pay attention to how Miss Delight does not ask if the children are in the same place the employees used to be in, or kept in, or taken to, but instead she uses present tense, asking if the children are in the same place as the employees. This confirms that some or many employees, whether dead or alive, are still kept somewhere beneath the factory, a place where they are segregated from the children. What we can say for sure is if the employees are alive or dead, as Miss Delight simply refers to them as the employees and nothing more, with no indication if they are alive or dead. But by the sounds of it, when Miss Delight asks if the children are in the same place as the employees, it could suggest that some employees are still alive, as people usually tend to keep meat in freezers to keep them edible so they don't decompose or rot. And based on that, we can assume that if the employees were dead and kept in a storage room, which typically would be a freezer, it wouldn't make it a suitable place for the children to be in either, as they would freeze to death. So according to that, we can presume that some employees are still alive, as Miss Delight wouldn't ask the prototype if the children are in the same place as the employees, as it would be an oxymoronic question, knowing living children can't be kept in freezers. Also, to add to that, Puppy keeps on saying that there are many that still need saving. Therefore, using this information, we can assume that the Hour of Joy tape did not show everything on that day and what happened to many others. That would correspond to the children also not being observed and what happened to them, as certain parts of the factory was not recorded. Maybe certain parts that were off limit, or certain people and employees whom the toys didn't want to harm. Therefore, not seeing certain parts of the factory and any child at all, we can assume two possibilities. The children were not harmed, or harmed. And using the information from Miss Delight, we can confirm that the children were not harmed, or at least majority of them, and they are kept somewhere safe by the prototype. The prototype even refused to expose their whereabouts and location, as he knew Miss Delight would harm them, and she even goes on explaining to Barb that she would kill them only pretending to the prototype that she cares about their safety. If you also note, the prototype only collects certain toys' corpses such as Mummy Longlegs and Catnap, but not many others who died such as Miss Delight. He even went to the extent of locking her inside the school with all the other teachers to fight for their survival, only letting one out. It's not really explained why he would do such a thing, but maybe the prototype knew of Miss Delight and the other teachers' hostility and wanted to control them easier by reducing them to only one. He knew many dolls would not be controlled and could possibly harm the children, hence why he killed many dolls who were not being controlled. But again, he killed many dolls who opposed them and wanted to save the innocent employees. So the prototype's character is very gray or in the middle, rather than being truly evil. He has many good and noble characteristics as well, fighting for freedom and saving others, even sacrificing his own freedom at a point to save Theodore Gramble, an orphan child. Mummy Longlegs also cared about the children very much, and despite being very resentful for what happened to her, showing extreme hostility to the employees, she composed herself and worked with the organization to show the orphan children a better life, essentially sacrificing herself and her need for freedom and justice, just to help the children feel better and be more comfortable. So the question to what happened to the children, most likely they were taken by the prototype to a safe place out of the reach from many toys and dolls who just became savages and wanted to kill and eat anyone that they found. The prototype seems to have directed the children to safety during the Hour of Joy, where every toy rebelled and killed anyone that they found, keeping their location a secret to many dolls and toys so they would not attack them. Pay attention to how none of them are seen on the CCTV, meaning that he took them to some off-limit places. It's not very clear if the prototype is serving the children as food to the toys and dolls in rations, but according to what we have heard and what has been documented about the prototype, he is willing to go so far as sacrificing himself to save the lives of children. He seems to also have a fighting soul, never giving in, despite being tortured and tormented on a daily basis, so the children are most likely safe, as he explained it himself, away from other dolls and toys, even dolls and toys like Mummy and Catnap. Even though we know Mummy really cared about the children and had a passion of spending time with them, having a caring mother persona, she even was prevented from knowing where the children are.
It's been so long.
In her dialogue, she explains that it's been a very long time since she had any visitors or played with anyone, indicating that she has been deprived of seeing the children. This is presumably done by the prototype in order to safeguard the children, as the toys have shown to be capable of violence and snapping. And despite all of that, I actually personally understand them, as they have been treated extremely bad, suffering from a howling hunger, and on top of that, they probably have severe PTSD after what they experienced and what they have become. So in the prototype's perspective, the safest option is to keep the children away from these dolls and rely only on himself to keep them safe. Maybe the entire reason why the prototype didn't leave the factory, as time and time we learned he wanted to escape and run away from the factory, is because he has taken the responsibility of safeguarding them. But the question remains, why the prototype just doesn't let the children go out of the factory and be freed? There are a lot of reasons and speculation which can be formed, with one being that as soon as the children would want to leave, the other dolls could potentially attack them. Another reason is that many children could expose the dolls and their location, making it dangerous for them as the authorities would hunt them down. Another reason could be because the children would have no other place to go to, as after all, they are orphans and many of them are probably still very young, as the organization even took guardianship of babies. And a more grim and sinister theory is that there are in fact no children remaining and the prototype whether freed them all, lying to the others, or maybe he killed them all. So in reality, there are no more children, because I would assume many of them would be over the age of 18 by now, since the Hour of Joy took place many years earlier, and at that point, there must have been many orphan children being older than 12 years old. Either way, we can be optimistic and assume the children are safe under the observation and care of the prototype. But that raises another question to how they are surviving and living. They have probably no food, and if any, it would be the flesh of the corpses of the employees, which would be extremely grim. They also seem to be kept in a hideout under the factory, seemingly in the labs, which would mean that they barely get any sun or have limited ventilation and space. So hundreds of them in such tight space, in such condition, is at the very least inhumane and would drive anyone to insanity. So the likelihood of them actually living becomes slimmer. What are your thoughts? Do you think they are still living and safe beneath the factory, somewhere that no one apart from the prototype knows? Or are they actually dead and the prototype is lying? Or have they managed to run away? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. As always, it's been your host R, and I will see you on the next one. Have a fantastic day.